Welcome to Golden Heights, and today spawning in the north corner of the map in blue, we've got Baldamus Maximus playing as the Rus. He also goes by the name of Demu, representing Team Liquid, and he's playing against, in the south corner of the map, in green, we've got laSh as the English. Welcome everyone to this Age of Empires forecasted game on Golden Heights, a map that I actually really enjoy. It's kind of like a hybrid map, but also it's kind of awkward because obviously the water's on the east side of the map with only 3 deep water fish, but obviously it still makes a big difference on the map. And it's quite a bit of shore fish. Now, the two players playing up against each other, going to be tussling it out in Golden Heights, playing two very popular water civilizations. Well, I mean, civilizations that can play on really great on land as well. And I think that's what makes these two civilizations incredibly strong. You've got the English, have very versatile, strong in many different ages. The Rus, just a little bit, I mean, dare I say broken? I mean, they're just so strong on pretty much every single map in Age of Empires 4 at the moment. They've got so many tools, they've got such a strong economy, but the thing about Golden Heights is that it's a different type of hybrid map, right? And especially when you go up against the English, because you're both fighting over a very small section of the pond. And so that's very different, for example, say like Boulder Bay, where you have pretty much preserved eco in terms of fishing early game. Like, you can't pressurize in the Dark Age, really. But this is different because Golden Heights, you can actually contest for the same water. And the thing about the English is they kind of dominate this situation because the villagers actually have their short bows. Now, he did have to commit 3 villagers to get out here on the east side. There's quite a bit of investment in terms of walking distance and time. Obviously could have been gathering resources, but now that he's invested that time, he's got the dock up and running, and really the Rus are a bit stuck. They're a bit stuck because they can't really... Like, if he sends villagers there, Demu, it's always a bit of a risk, right? Because obviously the villagers here can shoot them with ranged attacks, so it's always a bit tricky. Now, it does mean that the Rus have to try and pressurize the water later on in the game, and that's always an option. But I think that's something that's sometimes overlooked in some situations and some civilizations. I think the Rus do it really well, and I think the HRE do it really well as well, is that, okay, sure, water's incredibly strong, and there's no denying that, but if there's civilizations that can kind of keep up without having to go on water, it's the civilizations like the Rus and the HRE. They've got really strong eco bonuses and get sort of second town centers, multiple town centers up and running, and you should be fine. I mean, you're still going to be at a disadvantage most likely if you go sort of like for like 1 TC, just playing with eco upgrades versus 1 TC and a dock. But if you start to add in a second TC as the HRE or the Rus as we're seeing today, that could spell different options. It can really obviously give you a bit more flexibility in terms of the type of resources you're bringing in, because obviously you can task different villagers to different resources, whereas with the fishing, obviously you're pretty much hard stuck on water. Also bear in mind, in terms of balance of civilizations, the English, they kind of going on water, okay, it's fantastic, it's great, but they have a really strong food economy anyway with the farms. The farms are cheaper, they gather food a bit quicker as well, and so it's kind of like, sure, you got water, but you're kind of just crossing over your own eco bonuses that the English are balanced on. Now, I mean, that's obviously based on a world where the civilizations are, purely and equally balanced. Of course, Age of Empires is a little bit tricky in that situation with the asymmetry of the civilizations. But, it's an interesting concept to think about how the English do that, and we'll see how it pans out today on Golden Heights. Now, considering that the Rus have kind of given up water at this stage, there's no real pressure apart from the 1 scout. Obviously, because only can do so much. It'll be interesting to see how Demu actually response to this. Now, it does have 2 stone piles, very safe and secure in between the Kremlin, and it's got the wood line nice and secure as well. So, I mean, I think generally a nice option to going for the Rus is a second town center essentially, and then work from there, try and put on some pressure. You could think about in the village trying to attack the dock and do some damage, but I think that generally it's a bit difficult at this stage, because if you want to try and attack the dock, you either have to dock yourself, which is a bit risky, especially because obviously laSh has got, fishing economy, can always build some military ships if he scouts it out. The other way is just to brute force your way through, right, with melee units to burn down the palisades, but that's a heavy investment and it takes up a lot of time to actually break through, right? So if he's got military here, Demu, he's got 2 options. He can either use it to try and hamper the fishing economy, or he can try and be aggressive himself, pressurize the gold, but potentially, I mean, that's probably the main resource he can pressure. The wood is a bit more difficult to get to. Although the wood situation is a bit tricky on Golden Heights in this particular map generation. It's not ideal for laSh, because obviously you'd love a nice big chunky wood line, which it does have one on the edge of the map, but it's not so close to the town centre. I mean, to be honest, the players usually wall up anyway, but in this early stage it could be a problem. In any case, 3 villages on Shorefish 2. It's going to be the Council Hall. That's the landmark that laSh is going to go up with. Now, it does mean that obviously he's gone for the fish. It does delay his tech up a little bit to the feudal age, but it's not really big a problem because he's not really facing too much of an aggression from the Rus at the moment. And it's all a bit of an investment, right? So he's investing a little bit more in the Dark Age to get those fishing ships out. But you can see he's got 24 economy units versus the 22. And you can see plenty of villagers on the stone. Now, I forgot to actually put that on the villagers counts there. Apologies for that, but I'm usually pretty good with that. In any case, you can see it now, and obviously the Rus are looking to get plenty of villagers on stone to get that second town centre. The question is whether he stops at second town centre or not. Either way, he's going to be getting upgrades. He's got wheelbarrow in nice and early as the Rus, as you commonly get because of the bounty system. You know, getting the deer packs and the wolves gives you that little bit of extra trickle of gold, and the hunting cabin as well. Gathering 16 gold per minute always helps fund those eco upgrades that are all important to get that eco running. And speaking of eco running, well, laSh's economy is looking strong with an extra 3 villagers. Now he's going to start to wall up as we kind of anticipated. And it does have a galley just to be careful, just to make sure the waters aren't being occupied by Rus docks. But nothing coming out for Demu, so I think he's going to focus on land today on Golden Heights. I'm pretty excited to see how that works out for him. Alright, well there's that second town centre. And a nice spot actually on the wood line and... well, I mean, yeah, it's just on the wood line, and what more is there to say? The thing about the Rus as well is that he's got units on the field, and it does mean he should have some map control to get the free resources on the map. Now, if he can get access to the boar and the 2 deer packs here, that can be incredibly strong. It's forcing laSh into some outposts, but he's just going to circle around through the south now and deny these palisades if possible. Just going to try and see if his opponent's on wood here in the south area. It does see this, it just spots the villager, and laSh spots it as well, immediately moves back, and it's all a bit of a delay tactics here for Demu, and it's working quite well in his favour. Yeah, the villager trying to get the palisades. It's just not happening here, laSh, I'm afraid. It's going to need more military. It doesn't really have much in the way of numbers just yet. Does have barracks, though, that could start producing those spears, which he kind of needs at this point against the horsemen. Now, on the waters, well, laSh has got full control. I mean, he's just going to get the economy trickling in. It's only 4 fishing ships. And it's slow and steady wins the race, I guess, in many ways. He's going to get a second dog, though, so actually he's going to transition to many more fishing ships. Maybe to get the shorefish as well. Now, what's interesting is Demu is still on stone. That signifies it's going to be a 3rd town centre, probably on the deer pack, I would assume. Like, it kind of makes sense here, right? To go on the deer pack and the berries. Maybe even the deer pack wood and gold. We'll have to see which one he opts for. Probably here, closer to home. A bit more easier to protect. Speaking about protection, well, that outpost is going to do some good protection for the English, extending that network of castles bonus, but obviously no real units here, just focusing on keeping the villagers alive on gold. Now, with quite a few villagers on gold, I wonder whether this is for a fast castle build or whether it's just for eco upgrades. Could be either at this stage. I mean, it depends, because his gold's far forward, right? So it might be the case he's just trying to mine the gold rather quickly to get those resources banked up. Now, did actually get the palisade walls in the south, but his opponent could just sneak in a little bit. Obviously, he doesn't want to risk running underneath the town centre for too long, because the English town centres, they're built a bit different. They really do pump out those arrows and cause a lot of damage. Alright, but with 3rd town centre now up and running for Demu, this actually is a bit of an issue for laSh, because the economy numbers, as you can see, pretty much equalised, and just with the 2 docks, I mean, there's only so much of the eco he can expand here, right? He's not going to want to indefinitely produce fishing ships. He's going to produce a couple and then just stop. The good thing is that the fishing ships are cheaper for the English at 67 wood, but it's nothing really comparison, because obviously the Rus aren't actually on water. But yeah, the Rus actually, he's keeping up on economy count, and this is such a nice way to play as the Rus. And don't let this fool you, it's not just about the villager numbers, it's also the eco upgrades, right? He's got wheelbarrow this whole time. Villagers coming out to the northeast, probably looking to get out to the boar, as you can see in the north. There it is, just there, sitting nice and pretty. Going to get a wooden fortress just to protect as well, playing this nice and safe, which is certainly the right thing to do. And it certainly looks like laSh may be going for that castle age. The question is whether he goes for the White Tower or the King's Palace. I think in the grand scheme of things, it probably would make sense to go for the King's Palace. We'll see if he makes that decision as well, or whether he goes for a White Tower maybe in the middle to just secure up the gold veins. Because one thing about this map is it does encourage mid-map aggression with the just sheer number of gold veins in the middle and how the gold is pretty much distributed in that area. It's something you kind of have to contest for. Like in the mid-castle age, it can be a big deal. And so maybe that could be an option to get a white tower in the middle. It's going to be the King's Palace instead, which we kind of predicted. Going to protect that forward gold and maybe have a bit of more of an access on that deer camp. And it's going to get another 2 barracks as well. So it's probably going to be man-at-arms and probably adding in a few spearmen as well, just to counter the Rus Knights, of which we don't really see that many. There's one stable, of course, that laSh is aware of because he saw the horsemen earlier. But other than that, well, you know, Demu's just playing this nice and safely and securely. The question is whether the Castle Age brings in too many relics or not for laSh. It could be useful to get. I mean, he's got 1 here in the south that's pretty much his. 2 in the middle, which he hopefully should contest by getting to the Castle Age a little bit earlier. Looks like Demu, though, will be on his way pretty soon. I think it's going to be, obviously, the High Trade House, most likely. Very rarely that they go for the Abbey of the Trinity. Could be an option, but I don't really see that happening. Could be something we are surprised with. And plenty of fishing ships out for laSh. 12 so far. Be interested to see if he's continuing to produce them or not. Doesn't seem so. It's just going to stick with 12 for now. And does exhaust 1 deep water fish already. Going to be working on the second. Now that new age does come in now with the Castle Age. And he's getting that wheelbarrow. But he is behind. He's 10 villagers behind. Going to get the boar as well on the front of the area. Would be quite nice to keep that. Oh, did he just lose a villager though? Yeah, he did. Well, that's a bit rough. Are these no, he was a spearman in fact. He lost a spearman, but it is what it is. Well, clearly you need more than 4 or 5 spearmen. Maybe 6 would be ideal. Unfortunately, or maybe just micro. But unfortunately, he was perhaps potentially looking elsewhere. Going to get an outpost as well for some vision, just in case it gets pressured. Because obviously this is very far forward. It's pretty risky. But with 10 villager lead, it's going to be the High Trade House coming in. And bear in mind, by the way, it's not just a 10 villager lead or 10 eco lead. Okay, sure, laSh has a faster gathering speed from the fishing economy. But don't forget, there's quite a lot of distance to travel with the fishing ships. The main difference really is you've got to factor in is the amount of free resources that Demu is getting in, right? It's got the hunting cabin, got a couple of hunting cabins rather. Would like to see a hunting cabin here though, just to maximize gold income. But he does now have the High Trade House, which is getting 68 gold per minute, which might be rising because it's just been built. But it's a really nice landmark to get that free gold, and so it's not just a 13 villager lead right now. It's actually more than that. There's no passive gold generation for the English, or no passive anything for the English until the Imperial Age. Until enclosures come in. Well, the question is whether we get to the Imperial Age or not. We'll have to see. Who knows? Well, it looks like Demu wants to put some pressure with his units, wants to keep them active. Might actually snap some villagers here, which is not ideal for laSh. He's trying to escape back within the palisade walls and the gate. I think he might be able to survive, especially with the galley there, focusing on the horsemen. Will he survive? Will she survive? She does just about. And the thing is that they're kind of stuck there now with the horse archers. Okay, horse archers. Now, it's not very often we see that unit for the Rus, but we do see Demu use them quite a bit when he plays the Rus. He seems to favour them quite a lot. There was once a time when these guys were totally broken. They're pretty decent now. The trouble is these villagers are goners. There's no way to kind of keep these guys alive, I'm afraid, with the horse archers involved. Loses 2, loses the 3rd, and it's pretty dicey. It does have steel arrow as well, which will be boosting up the damage output of those horse archers. Looks like laSh just keeping units on the mid-map, keeping it secure. The question, does he have a monastery? He does indeed have a monastery, and probably looking to pick up some of those relics. Has one in the bag already, well, in his clutches of a monk. Just needs to bring it back home. I think he went for the ones in one of the ones in the middle actually in the end. But behind this, the issue is that horse archers have really good mobility. It's a really awkward situation actually going for horse archers as a Rus, because one of the biggest counters for horse archers are longbowmen or archer units, ranged units, and well, obviously the English are some of the best in the game in the form of the longbowman. Doesn't actually have steeled arrow just yet. Very lacking in blacksmith upgrades is laSh. It's kind of lacking in the eco department as well. It's an interesting way to play Golden Heights, just pretty much ignoring water, focusing on land, and you know, the thing is, laSh is not punishing him. He's being a bit idle with his military. He's actually got a lot of military on the field. Perhaps trying to play this for the late game, but little does he know, he's facing up against a civilization that actually at the moment has better economy. I think laSh thinks he's ahead, but he just isn't. He's got the fishing economy, so he's probably feeling quite good about himself, but It's a full sense of security for sure. It almost seems like if Demu just idles production of units for a little while, he might edge towards that Imperial Age. So almost heading forward now with a decent number of horse archers. This could be dangerous actually for laSh. He's got to be careful because if these guys get into the back line, into the base, they could deal a lot of damage on a wood line. 22 of them. He's going to run into the problems here though. I'm not sure it's a fight he can take. He's going to pick off a couple of man-at-arms in the stealth forest, but there's not much more he can do with this. It does have that one scout. It's kind of a little bit weak. Needs to be careful just to keep that one alive. And he's backing off for now. Understands the situation, understands the fight mechanics. He's just not going to take effective fight there. So he decides to back off. Now on the back of this though, well, Demu is not comfortable just leaving the relics up for grabs for his opponent. He's got one in the bag already, picking up another. Looks like it's been a relatively even split of the relics picking up for both players. But we'll see who gets the last one. I mean, it's going to be laSh, to be fair. He's going to get the last one most likely because it's so much more closer to him. Unless it's a real smash and grab. Speaking of smash and grab, looks like these horsemen want that as well. They want to try and get some raiding bounty and bonuses and stuff and everything. Whatever you like with these guys. Trouble is that they're not really making themselves known just yet. Just building his army. I think Demu is reading the game really nicely. It's obviously quite passive at this point, but laSh's got a lot of military just not being used. That might come to haunt him. But I guess in one way, laSh is considering, well, if it goes super late game, that really favors me in some ways. Although having said that, you know, the Rus late game, it's no joke, especially with the cheaper siege engines coming out from the high armory. The landmark that can be used to go to the Imperial Age. Obviously, the other landmark is a Speskaya Tower. Could be a good option as well, especially if he's going to look to try and secure up the middle of the map. Speaking about securing middle of the map, well, going to the Imperial Age for the English does give some options. The Berkshire Palace is really the landmark that everyone chooses these days. Is very rare. I was trying to get that smash and grab in the end, but doesn't quite manage it. But certainly the Berkshire Palace is certainly the landmark of choice for the English at the moment for the Imperial Age. Very rarely do we see the Wingard Palace anymore. Just not a useful landmark at this stage at the moment. Berkshire Palace just proving too strong. And it's really because of the range. It's got 15 tile range. It's incredible. Very difficult to stop that beast of a landmark. Can take out the outpost in the middle. Just disrupts that network of castles bonus that laSh had. And it's going to immediately replace that though. And Demu just heads back home again. We'll have to say, in this kind of quieter phase of the game, might as well just say that I hope you guys enjoy the casted games. And, well, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Plenty more Age of Empires 4 content coming your way. Especially with the new civilizations. It's going to be great, I'm sure of it. I'm actually really excited because I think for a long time, you know, Age of Empires didn't have much news about development, what's happening. And all of a sudden, get this big announcement of new civs, new DLC. It's going to really shake up the scene, I think. And I think it's going to be great for the community for sure. Anyway, speaking about things being great, looks like laSh is going to do something great here by getting a keep in the middle. Going to be protecting those two gold veins and the sacred site, incidentally enough. One sacred site on the west side, already captured by Demu, and I think this is very purposeful by laSh. He just wants to make sure that this sacred site is secured. Just takes out that winter condition, that potential win condition rather, for the Rus played by Demu today. It's going to be the High Armory, the landmark of choice to get to the Imperial Age for Demu, and it's going to reduce the cost of siege engines from the workshop by 20%. And it also contains unique siege engine technologies, obviously really strong for the Rus. We'll go through that when it does pop up, because there is some nuance to it. Now I can see plenty of siege workshops coming out for Demu. He's cooking something special now. It's getting greased axles. It's going to be increasing the movement speed of siege engines by 15%. Now, I just... if you guys have seen casted games on the channel before, you may know where I'm thinking at the moment. Demu might have a really kind of trick up his sleeve with the Rus. They've got this one strategy that they do incredibly well, and it's something to do with wood. You may know it, but essentially, you know, the Rus, they've got a really strong wood economy, especially with the Kremlin and the hunting cabins. You know, well, boosting up, well, the wooden fortresses rather, boosting up the drop-off by 20%, I believe it is. It's such a great wood economy, and you know, I'm building up to it. I will reveal the secret of the Rus civilization late Imperial Age. But that wood economy can be pumped into a certain type of siege unit, which when lined up almost resembles a train. And it is the ram, especially with certain upgrades coming in. But speaking of upgrades, well, laSh has upgraded his army to a position where he wants to take the fight and try and put some pressure whilst he's in the Castle Age. Up against the Imperial Age units, though, the upgrades coming in pretty fast for Demu at the moment. It's getting the elite upgrades to the Horse Archers and the elite Man-at-Arms upgrade, and that's going to be problematic. It does also call upon the Kremlin Gremlins, the militia for Demu, going to be acting as the front line. This is a bad fight for laSh. I'm not sure why he's taking this. It feels like he needs to. It feels taking like a lot of the new units out, the Horse Archers, before the elite comes up. It's not too terrible. Like, he's trading well and he's taking out a lot of the Castle Age units that could have become Imperial Age units, which they do now. I think now's the time is to back. I think he actually cancelled that. Okay, nice play there by Demu. He recognized he's lacking on the Horse Archer numbers. He just cancelled the upgrade, gets those resources back. Overall, I'm not so sure. I mean, it was a decent fight in the end for laSh, because whilst he was fighting against militia, which end up dying anyway, it felt like he needed to do something, right? He needs to pressure now, but he does have that elite upgrade coming in for the Man-at-Arms. Tithe Barns coming in as well for Demu, and he's getting lightweight beams, which increases the battering ram attack speed by 20%, reduces the field construction by 50%. He's not really going for the field construction anyway. But look at this. Here comes the ram train. Oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. He's making a move. Well, he's moving across and he's going to batter down. He's already started the battering down. He's done a lot of damage and he's going to do more. The trouble is these rams are so hard to stop. And the thing is, if you have to commit 24 villagers, the idle time it creates is absolutely bonkers. And the trouble for laSh is that economy that Demu has been building up for a long time is really starting to pay for itself. And these rams are going to break through, and it just keeps the army back at home, right? It just forces laSh to deal with it. And it means that his army split into two, and it's not really what you want with the English. You want kind of one slow, sustained push with siege. The horsemen do get bonus damage against the rams, but they're backing off for now. But with all the upgrades that Demu has got, well, he's starting to build up those ram numbers. And we talked about how strong that wood economy is. He's got 50 villages on wood. Let's just see how much wood is being brought in. Almost 2,500. Just over 2,000 really. Wood per minute. I mean, that's a lot of rams. That's almost like 10 rams a minute. Just under. Maybe something like 8 rams, 9 rams. It's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. And how does laSh stop that? Like you could... I mean, you can't get walls. I mean, the rams will take them down. He just needs units, I guess. He's going to get the bark shot in the middle. It does mean that the landmark sniping kind of winning condition is a little bit more difficult. But that's not really necessarily what Demu wants to achieve with this. He just wants to put on pressure, take out infrastructure, take out houses. And the thing is, laSh doesn't have all that much wood, right? He's kind of... Where is his wood? It's down in the south. Okay, there's a decent amount of wood still left. But in any case, the villagers coming out again. They're going to be idle, 19 of them. He's already got a 30 villager deficit. The rams boosting themselves in. They're just torching down everything. And, I mean, laSh has to rebuild these houses, right? The trouble for laSh is that if he wants to try and get units, he's going to need to spend a lot of wood on houses. And that takes time to build up again. A lot of these rams getting so much damage. And wood economy, food economy struggling, because those farms is really what laSh would have wanted, but a lot of them are empty. Does he have... He doesn't actually have enclosures. Can't afford it. Well, actually, he could afford it. No, he can't afford it. Doesn't have the gold. That's the problem. Does have the middle area, though. I think the villagers were building that landmark at the end. Has a trebuchet in the middle. Trying to focus on the keep. That's going to buy time for Demu, but it's just going to buy time for all these rams dishing out all sorts of damage. Taking out key infrastructure. Going for the landmark town center right now. Lots of things on fire, but the main thing is that laSh is idling so much economy. These villagers, like, they don't show up as idle villagers, but they are, like, from gathering resources at least. There's 44 villagers here. That's like half of his economy. Having to relocate those relics, he's lost track of that. Lost the monastery, not getting that gold income now. Militia coming in, the magic button to defend. Now, the good thing is for laSh, he is pressurizing in the middle, but it hasn't done all that much eco damage. And he's trying to get value, but the militia keeping him busy. Going to go to that wood line. How much health? 40 seconds on the militia. They're going to stay alive for a while, focusing on the farm transition. There's a lot of villagers here right for the taking, but only a handful of man-at-arms. It will take time. The villagers do run away from that area. The militia going to engage with the man-at-arms, dishing out damage. And if Demu can head back in this position just to defend, it will be really helpful. Just to clear up these man-at-arms, get that wood economy back and rolling. And I mean, it looks like the militia are going to be enough, to be fair. Yeah, the militia is actually going to be enough. That's actually insane when you think about it. Takes care of a large chunk of Demu's army. And he's got the elite man-at-arms. laSh is in the Imperial Age himself, but it's found it difficult to get the full upgrades that he needs. Again, Rams keep pushing in. The town center's on fire, could go down, just leaves another 2 landmarks after that, but I think he's going to repair this, keep it safe. But he's insufficient wood, right? So, oh, it's so bad for laSh. He's having to spend everything on repairs, everything on houses, and it's just, yeah, it's terrible. You can see a lot of the infrastructure had to be rebuilt, but it's very expensive. And, well, the English just don't have the strong wood economy that the Rus do, and it takes out 1 dock and 2nd dock as well. And now this is a problem situation for laSh. He's lost his fishing economy. He's lost a lot of economy. Question is there a way back? I'm not so sure. If you sustained so much damage, and the Rams just keep coming for Demu. They just keep coming. Well, that's also a problem for laSh to deal with. Doesn't really have the counter unit set up. He does have a lot of archery ranges. Could be thinking about getting crossbows. It's just not really the situation you want to be as the English. Again, another group of 6 Rams, 8 Rams. And the trouble is the units, the horsemen, trying to focus on the Rams. They're getting peppered by the Streltsy that are coming out. And now the Rams are going to take out the landmark TC. We could see the GG because laSh is really struggling. Doesn't have the military numbers. Down to 16 military population. A lot of his economy is trying to take out the Rams. The town centre does go down. That just leaves the Council Hall and the Berkshire Palace with Streltsy riding in. I don't think the Rams can go down. The Streltsy in huge numbers. The villagers are going to get gunned down, and there's no way to stop this, you feel, for laSh and the English. And, well, it looks like the rest of the infrastructure will be going down pretty soon. The question is, when does laSh tap out? Because that probably is the last straw that he can take with more houses going down, Rams staying alive, and where does he go from here? Only the King's Palace to reproduce villagers. But he is struggling for sure. laSh doesn't find a way. He lost a lot of villagers there. He's down to 92 villagers. Only 5 military. Does have the Berkshire Palace in the middle. Could potentially relocate a lot of his economy. But that's probably going to be next. And that is it. laSh recognizes he is down and out. And well, that crazy Rus strategy. Rams, Rams, Rams. That is the way forward for the Rus. A secret strategy in many ways. Hope you guys enjoyed the casted game. Take care. And see you next time.